Good evening, I'm Camden Cohn, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. We start with some sad news today as former Nebraska football player Calvin Jones passed away today at the age of 54. Jones was found deceased at his residence in Omaha due to what is believed to be carbon monoxide poisoning. Jones played I-back for the Huskers from 1990 to 93, rushing for over 3,000 yards in his career and earning Big 8 Player of the Year honors in 1992. He was named to the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame in 2004. Nebraska wrestler Ridge Lovett was named the Big Ten Wrestler of the Week today. The senior took home the honor thanks to a major decision over Penn State's Shane Van Ness, who entered that matchup as the second-ranked wrestler at 149 pounds. Lovett now holds that number 2 ranking as the Huskers prepare to face Michigan and Michigan State this weekend on the road. The Michigan duel is on Friday at 6, and the matchup with MSU is Sunday at noon. Former Nebraska bowling coach Bill Straub was named to the USBC Collegiate Hall of Fame today. He was one of 5 individuals named to the class. Between his tenure as the Husker men's coach from 1984 to 2003 and the women's coach from 1985 to 2019, Straub earned 12 national titles and was National Coach of the Year 4 times. And finally, there's just one men's college basketball game in the Big Ten tonight. Number 17 Illinois is at home against the Maryland Terrapins. Tip-off is at 8 Central Time. The Terps are 4-4 in league play, while the Illini have a 5-3 Big Ten record. Our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Hour 1 of Sports Nightly is up next, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Andrew playing like a man possessed here. Going over 1,000 in his career early on in this game, and the give is to him, and the dunk, and Nebraska's tied the game at 24, and Morgan's got a dozen. A minute 53 to go. Williams on the elbow. Buchton Gerald left side. Eulis extra pass. Hoiberg puts it up. Got it! Sammy, my boy! Sammy, my boy, cuts this lead down to 2 points.
Rimdahl, couple of ball fakes, bounces into Prince at half court. And Prince is going to make a run on a falter. Steps back for 3 to tie the game. You betcha! Biggest shot of that freshman's young career. Timeout. We're tied at 75. Britt Prince is 19. She steps back and sticks a 3-pointer. Her 5th of the night. Hey, going to drive into the lane. Stops. Pops. 9-footer. Front rim. Gets her own rebound. Backs it out. Prince, right elbow. Pull-up jumper. Rolls. No. Markowski fights for it. Gets it out to Petrie. 3-ball on the left wing. You betcha! 4 chances at the basket, and Petrie knocks down a Central Valley 8.
Now that's old school Husker outwork you basketball.
Now, here is your host, Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome in, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. Jessica Coody here. Greg Sharpe has the night off tonight, so Nick Hanley once again stepping in for us. Nick, I don't know, with the holiday on Monday, I wasn't here yesterday. It's lucky that it says right there on the screen in front of me that it's Thursday, because I was sitting here thinking, what day is it today? I'm all messed up this week.
Can I fool you into saying it's Friday, and then you don't show up to work tomorrow? Well, then you're in all kinds of trouble tomorrow. So I'm not going to do that to you. And then it doesn't have a Friday feel, right?
I kind of felt like Friday today. I don't know. I first I thought Wednesday, then no, it's Friday, and I guess it's Thursday. So here we go. But thanks for filling in for me last night. I had a great time at the Outland Trophy Award dinner. That was a cool experience. Kelvin Banks Jr., what a great guy he is. You always like when you meet those guys and they're good people, when they're getting some of these big-time awards, and just an incredible story. And so it was great to chat with him for a little bit. And then the Huskers, John Bullock was there, but, awarding some of the Huskers. And then Charlie McBride, Coach McBride was there, and he got up there and spoke for a while, and it was just so entertaining. And there was a lot of former Huskers that were there, and boy, you could tell how much they love Coach McBride. They were really enjoying it. It's also cool to see how many of them wanted to be there for him and Coach Osborne last night. But it was a cool event, but I appreciate you stepping in for me.
Oh, yeah. It was my pleasure and getting to spend an hour with Greg. But also, I got to ask you, did the Outland Trophy winner, did he give you any indication on who he hopes drafts him coming up in April?
No, but I guarantee you if I would ask him, it would have been the politically correct answer. Whoever gives him an opportunity, he's ready to go. But
he would look good in dark blue and orange. That's all I'm saying. They need offensive linemen. But, no, that sounded like a great event. And as you pointed out, too, a lot of former black shirts that were on hand there that I heard about, too. And it always kind of reminds you of that, not only just being a former Husker, but the fraternity of the black shirts too, and so many guys that are in the area too. I know Tony Veland was there, a guy that bleeds Husker red, has done so much for the community. So many other guys that were there to be a part of that with Charlie McBride. And you think of the architect of switching Nebraska over to that 4-3 defense that just was so dominant too. And for a guy that I'm sure there were plenty of stories shared last night that you probably had a chance to hear, but if anybody was near Charlie McBride and Tom Osborne's table too, you were probably very lucky, because I'm assuming there were a lot of reminiscing and a lot of stories, especially stories about practice, how Charlie McBride handled his guys. There was a certain level of toughness too, so very fitting that he gets the Legacy Award last night, but also cool to see John Bullock be able to be presented and also be able to talk about his time and the mentors that he's had. But it was kind of a cool black shirt themed part of the Outland Trophy award presentation, from what I understand.
Yeah, Tom actually said that very thing. He said Coach Osborne about in his speech about Coach McBride that, boy, he would just light him up in practice. And the next thing you know, he'd turn around and he had his arm around him walking off the practice field. That guys just adored him. And you could just tell, the ones that were coming up and chatting with him, how much just appreciation they have for him. Zach Wiegert was there, and he had on a T-shirt that said, linemen, because quarterbacks need heroes too. So they should probably sell those T-shirts. He should trademark those and sell those at the Outland Trophy dinner, I think. But
I love the push for the big uglies too, especially with the offensive line play. We know it's still as important as it is back then as it is today. And Zach Wiegert, I'm sure Rob Zadiska, the original Pipeline members, all of those guys would, even if they're wearing a nice sporty blazer over those T-shirts too, to continue.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
there you go. He's a dapper dude.
Yeah. Yeah. He was killing it. I didn't know this though, but Texas is the first program to go back to back in the Outland since
Nebraska.
Yeah, 81, 82, 83. But Texas is now the only program to go back-to-back on both sides of the ball.
Ooh.
Pretty interesting.
So that stings on a couple different levels, Jessica, because you being a former OU person.
Oh, I let Kelvin know that. He told me, the first thing he said, no horns down. And so at the end, I said, we'll let you hook them just for tonight. But no, I actually brought that up. So we talked about that.
He couldn't get flagged at the dinner though, so that's fine. There's no. I guess SEC officials now, they were going to be a little bit more lenient than what the Big 12 officials were going to be with the horns down. So at least there's that.
Yeah, but great event. I was happy to be there and step in for great friend Greg Sharpe normally MCs that event. I told at the beginning, I said, look, I'm not going to do as good a job as him, but I will try my very best. But in the meantime, I get in my car. It's right past halftime, and boy, what a tough one last night for Nebraska men's basketball. And what's crazy is, like, you look at the stats, and it's almost identical, but just Nebraska didn't make those winning plays you got to make to win those kind of games.
Yeah, and I want to start with what actually was very positive. And there was a part of me, it's funny you bring up halftime, because as I'm looking at certain areas that Nebraska needed to be very solid in the first half, mainly turnovers, because as you know, that in the previous 4 games has been an issue. They cut it down a little bit against Maryland. The first 10 minutes was a little different against Maryland, where they had the 7 turnovers in the first 10 minutes, but really up until that crucial turnover with 22 seconds to go against Maryland, when they had a chance to tie or take the lead, that you have that turnover. But Nebraska had done a really good job of, I thought, controlling the basketball in moments, but then there would be moments where all of a sudden they weren't. But then the perimeter defense Jessica, that's been an issue. And all of a sudden, you look at halftime, they had not allowed a three-point make in the first half. So you're thinking, okay, these are all good signs. But then you're looking at the lead at halftime, and you're hoping and thinking that could have been bigger. And we talked about this last week. Greg and I talked about it yesterday as well, of getting out to that big start, having that early initial run, getting the crowd into it. The students were back, all of that, getting that Pinnacle Bank magic, if you will, back on the floor and helping this team. And they just were never able to really seize those opportunities in some areas that they made some improvements in. And I'm sure Fred, watching the film from last night, I'm sure he saw some good things, but I'm sure there were a lot of those things that he's probably thinking too. Boy, we looked good here, but we did not capitalize in those moments. And there were just times where you felt like if Nebraska could be more opportunistic with some of those offensive possessions, get more out of it, then all of a sudden you got maybe a 10-point lead and you're able to capitalize off of that. You're able to feed off of that. And they did not have that consistency, or maybe the flow is the best way to put it, because when they're having good closeouts defensively, when they were able to get out and contest shots, and USC is missing beyond the arc, you would see a subsequent possession where all of a sudden Nebraska then would turn the ball over. So nothing really got in sync last night, at least to the tune to where you felt Nebraska could be their old home self.
Yeah, and you could sense the frustration from Coach Hoiberg after the game because of some of those things you just pointed out about, the 50-50 balls. When things needed to bounce Nebraska's way, they got out toughed. They didn't make those kinds of gritty plays that, from the start of this season, we heard Coach Hoiberg talking about we're not always going to be pretty on the offensive end. Well, how are we going to do that? By winning those 50-50 balls, winning the rebounding, not, turning defense into offense, locking teams down defensively. It might be some gritty wins, some gutty wins, some not very pretty wins, and maybe at times last night this team got away from that when that's what they need their identity to continue to be, because there's going to be stretches where they don't shoot the ball well. And, like last night, they didn't shoot it well from three, but they got it going inside. But, you could sense the frustration. But now you got to find a way. I mean, we've been talking about the last 3 wins were must wins, and they've lost now 5 in a row, and you've got a tough stretch ahead. They've got to figure out, it's not, I don't know if it's quite yet panic mode, but because I think there's going to be teams jockeying up and down this conference just because of how tough it is. You're going to see teams get beat that aren't supposed to get beat. It happens every year. So it's not like, they're completely out of it, but they've got to figure out some things and get some wins. And they're going to have to now probably steal at least 2 on the road and get back to protecting the home court.
Yeah, and Tuesday night's results in the Big Ten, I think, is a great indicator of, what is going to happen week in and week out. And a reason you don't necessarily need to get overly panicky right now. You saw the amount of upsets that took place in the Big Ten on Tuesday. Last night, if you're an outsider looking in, maybe you look at Nebraska as just another example of what has been a 24-hour stretch of Big Ten basketball, where you saw a team that came in as an underdog actually go in and win a basketball game. But unfortunately, now you're compounding those moments. And other than the Purdue game, these have all been close games. So you've had those moments, and 2 of those now at home, where you feel like you're always going to have those winning time plays when it's necessary. And the panicky part about it that you bring up, Jessica, is this is an interesting needle to thread if you're Fred Hoiberg. And I like what he said after the game last night about they've got to stay together. And I know that's cliche, and I know every coach in that situation is going to say that, but I think there's substance behind that, because if you are all of a sudden trying to completely reinvent the wheel on this thing, or you're overthinking it, or you're doing too much, and now everybody is completely inside their own head on responsibilities, on emphasis, on not only the physical part, but the mental part of their approach each day and each game, then you've got a big problem. I will say this until I'm blue in the face, that the demeanor of Fred Hoiberg, I think, suits this team well in these situations. But now you want to start to see, okay, you've taken one on the chin here in the last couple of weeks. You got to be able to find that type of really 40 minutes of basketball that you can hang your hat on, that you can say, when we were having defensive stops, we were able to turn those into points. When we were winning the rebounding war, that also led to points in transition. That led to good things offensively, where this team, like we saw a lot last year too, and even early this year, where they were connected. I think that word in that style of play has eluded them here as of late. That when they've got it going at a level that, look, offensively, they're not a 90-point-a-night or 85-point-a-night team, but they can feed off of what their defense does. That's connected. And when that thing doesn't look connected like it didn't last night, this is the type of result that you have to fear. And when Fred said this last night about how they have to be perfect, he's right. There is not a huge margin for error. So anytime you are getting those breaks or you're making those plays, they've got to jump all over that. The thing he said also yesterday about the difference between toughness and effort. The effort is there. I think when he's questioning their toughness, people are thinking, oh, this is a bad thing. You know, they don't care. It's no. There is a difference between those effort-type plays. You brought it up, the 50-50s, and those things that have hurt this team. It's not the effort. It's just when they're in position to make those plays, they're getting out-muscled a little bit. Not because of lack of desire or want. It's because they're getting out tough. That's a tricky thing to maneuver. It's kind of a scary thing because, hey, certain teams are built a certain way, and this is the Big Ten, like you mentioned. These are the types of fistfights you're going to get into from time to time. How do you offset maybe what is a lack of toughness when it comes to those 50-50 opportunities to get extra possessions or to shut something down?
This team can't do that, you know, and I think that's what he said is this team can't they cannot give up those because of they're just not going to be a team, like you said, they're not going to put up 90, 100 points, and there might be times that they've got to, you know, grind it out on the defensive end, and when you start giving up those, it's just not a team that they've got to hang their hat on that. And he said that basically from the start of the season. It's crazy, too. I mean, I mentioned the stats. I know the stats don't tell the story, but I think it maybe paints a picture to your point about they have played some good basketball throughout this stretch. I mean, they also put up a graphic last night that they have, I think, the most losses by 3 points or less or something in the country. But, you know, there's another coach and I were actually chatting about this on the TV show a couple weeks ago. I can't even remember what game it was. But if you look at the stats, if you just looked at the stats and you didn't know the final score, Nebraska outplayed whoever the team it was that beat them. But you've got to find ways to make those winning plays when it comes down to it, because these games are going to be close. It's just what the Big Ten is. You've got to find ways. You got to look to some of your guys like a Bryce Williams or Jawan, whoever it might be. They've got to step up in those moments and make those winning plays, bottom line, because a lot of times they're doing almost everything right except for taking it when it's yours. You at some point you got to take it. You know, you got to take it, and I feel like it's getting taken from them a little bit too much.
And I think to your point there, and I think to what Fred was talking about last night too, and there was one area I brought up to Jake Muehlheisen on the show yesterday of if you are Nebraska and you're looking at a team that is long and very consistently long, even their guards have length like USC brings in, that for whatever reason, that USC team had really struggled rebounding the basketball. And they were 17th in the Big Ten of offensive rebounds, one of the worst offensive rebounding teams that we've seen not only in the conference, but one of the worst in the country. And yet they out-rebound when it comes, not only out-rebound Nebraska, but also they have 12 offensive rebounds to 6 offensive rebounds for Nebraska. So that point of emphasis there of, okay, this team is struggling, so what are they going to do? They're going to come in and they are going to work extra hard to try to offset that number or try to make up for that number. And so they were crashing last night. USC was, you could tell, that was something that they were trying to improve. And Nebraska had to know that coming in. And so they were taking some creative angles. They were, obviously, there's some bad luck that comes with offensive rebounding. But still, when you look at it, this is where, again, stats don't tell the whole picture, but one area that you felt Nebraska had a decisive advantage in trying to eliminate second and third opportunities for USC in their offensive possession, that was it right there. And they were able to really crash the boards offensively, and they got more than I think any of us anticipated, and that's a problem right there. So those are those little things where you've got an advantage in a certain area, you don't take advantage of that. And this is where, again, close games like Nebraska's playing in right now, those little things right there and losing those little battles right there, that can ultimately be the difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah, 1 or 2 offensive boards in a game like that can change the outcome. All right, let's get to our first break here on Sports Nightly. 402-413-2400 is that number if you want to call in, be a part of the show, text in. We'd love to hear from you. Get your thoughts on whatever you want to chat about tonight. And our Sports Nightly hotline is brought to you by Woodhouse. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Back with more coming up after this.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
There's something to be said for American-made, but at Monolith, we're helping create Nebraska-made. From here in Nebraska, we're producing low-emission carbon black for tires across North America. Soon we'll be providing farmers with locally made fertilizer to reduce our reliance on foreign imports. We're investing hundreds of millions in our multiple Nebraska facilities and employing Nebraskans in high-paying jobs that support families and communities. Monolith, Nebraska-made.
Huskers fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Experience elegance at every mile at Woodhouse Lincoln. Whether it's adventure, elegance, or everyday comfort, there's a vehicle in the Lincoln lineup that's designed for your lifestyle. Purchase the 2024 Lincoln Navigator L Reserve for $99,000 plus 0% APR for 60 months. Shop in store at 144th and Giles Road or online at woodhouselincoln.com. With approved credit, price includes $2,000 trade-in assistance and $2,000 luxury conquest bonus. Exchange by Lincoln vehicle. VIN number 5LMJJ3LG 1REL0646. Offer expires January 31st, 2025. See dealer for details.
You may have heard about Monolith, how right here in Nebraska, we're producing low-emission carbon black for tires across North America, how we'll soon be providing farmers with locally made fertilizer to reduce our reliance on foreign imports, how we're investing hundreds of millions in multiple Nebraska facilities. You might have heard Monolith is changing the world. We're not. You are. Along with many other Nebraskans in high-paying jobs that support families and communities. Monolith, Nebraska made.
Welcome back inside our Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, which is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Nick Hanley here with me, Jessica Coody here tonight. Greg Sharpe has the night off. He'll be back tomorrow night. So I was going to wait to get into it, but it's already being brought up on the chat. So I guess we can already ask you, you got an early pick for Super Bowl, who I guess the matchup might be, and then who you're going to take?
On the NFC side, this one is a little bit more enticing of your heart in your brain, at least for me, because who doesn't love the Jayden Daniels story right now?
Yeah,
and what the organization for the Washington football team, which I still wish they would have kept.
I know they should have kept that name.
I'm with you. It was just fun. You could say WFT. It was great, but that whole thing from Snyder all the way down was just such a mess as far as the amount of discrepancies, both with treating employees certain ways to the way that they handled the business of football. It was just an absolute dumpster fire. And now all of a sudden you've got smart people in the power chairs. You've got smart people that I think Quinn is a great coach. You've got a good roster. You've got a outstanding rookie quarterback and a defense that's pretty salty as well. So there is something there with the way Washington is playing, and we've seen this many times. You get into the tournament, as they say, and you got a shot. And that's a matchup that I think is going to be a lot of fun. But I think my heart tells me take Washington because it is a great story. But, damn, the Eagles are playing really, really good. And playing there, having that home field advantage, I like the way Jalen Hurts is operating. Jalen Hurts has been through this before. He's already led this team to a Super Bowl, so nothing at this stage is going to be overwhelming for him at all. And, again, we talk about defense that are playing well. Philadelphia is playing outstanding defense right now. And Saquon Barkley, the guy's just a road grader. I mean, there's a guy that in high-leverage situations can still rip off a 65-yard touchdown run. So I like the way that the Commanders' defense is playing right now, but not to the level that they can neutralize both Jalen Hurts, what they want to do in the passing game, his ability to extend things with his legs, but also Saquon Barkley. So I got to still roll with the Philadelphia Eagles. And then in the AFC Championship game, this is where I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can. My eyes tell me the Bills are a better team.
Really?
I know that's going to tick some people off, and people go, what are you talking about? And, of course, the greatest home field advantage that there is in the NFL is Arrowhead Stadium. I understand that. But when I watch the Bills and I watch the level that Josh Allen's playing, and I know a lot of you are going to say, wait, we've seen this before until he takes on Superman himself, Mahomes. That's true. I also believe at some point the tide has to turn. At some point this has to go Josh Allen's way. And I still think when I watch them play, when they want to turn things on, it's there. And I know you could say the same thing about Kansas City, but Kansas City to me, whether they're just saving their best for the very last or what. And I understand you got to play near perfect football to beat Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium, but I think the Bills are capable of it. The Bills, to me, look like a better team. So I'm just going to roll with that. History be damned in this matchup. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills. I'm just going to look at it from a pure football standpoint, and I'm going to take the Bills.
I like it. And Crypto King brings up a good point. Jeremiah Searles, huge Bills fan, so I think he would like that pick. Hey, so you mentioned the Hart story. It is a great story with the Commanders, and a lot of people rooting for them. But my heart actually is going to be with the Eagles just because I like rooting for guys that I've worked with, that I know, that I've covered in their college careers. And the Eagles have just about as many guys that I've covered in my career with Cam Jurgens, Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson, Lane on the offensive line. What's crazy, I think I've told this story before, but Lane Johnson was a quarterback in high school, and he went to junior college first. He's just a freak athlete. And I was doing a feature story, when I was at Oklahoma. I did a lot of feature stories telling guys, journeys or whatever, what happens off the field, how they got here. And he had switched from quarterback to tight end to defensive end, finally on the offensive line, and then gets drafted in the first round. But I was doing a story on him playing quarterback, and I said, hey, do you do you happen to have any like highlights or anything? He goes, yeah, I think I got a DVD in my truck. I mean, he's Texas. And so he, sure enough, gave me a DVD. I think I might still have that DVD. I don't think I ever got it back to him. But he could, you talk about a dual threat quarterback. He just ran some people over. But so I think I probably am going to have to go with the Eagles. I'm hoping also that the Bills knock off the Chiefs. So my ideal matchup would be Bills, Eagles. And from there, I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
You got Cam Jurgens with the Eagles, too, so there should be a little rooting interest right there.
Well, I said Cam Jurgens, Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson, those three guys there. It's pretty cool to see, so.
Yeah, the Bills part of this, and if these two teams hook up, that could be an epic Super Bowl. And that's not to say that if the Chiefs win, because the Chiefs are favored slightly, and they should be. If the Chiefs take on the Eagles, we saw how that Super Bowl played out a couple of years back. That was fantastic. That would be a great one, too. I love the way that the Eagles are playing right now. They've got the formula. They know exactly what they want to do. And when we talk about the success that Saquon Barkley is having, and then we talk about a former Husker and Cam Jurgens and how he's been helping and aiding in that situation, too, that's great to see. So the part about the Bills, there's something about these electric quarterbacks that when all else fails, they're able to just make plays because they're winners. And again, I can hear people saying, but what has Josh Allen really won? Okay, I get that. In order to be the best there is, you got to beat the best at some point. I always hate that argument. You and I were talking about this during the break. I always hate that argument of, it's Mahomes versus Josh Allen. Well, but Mahomes is not lining up on the edge and trying to apply pressure on Josh Allen. But I do think there is something about a defense trying to get up for a certain quarterback because they want to do right by their dude. I get that. But I just think at some point Josh Allen this is going to happen for Josh Allen because, look, these two teams continue to face each other in some of the most highest leverage situations that it's going to finally go his way. It just seems very fitting that it would go his way in Kansas City when they had the opportunity to do it in Buffalo a year ago.
Let's hope it happens. We'll see. Should be fun. It's a fun matchup. I mean, it's a fun weekend of teams. There's a lot of fun, interesting storylines. It's going to be interesting to see how many people tune into this. And on that note, you like what I did there? You wanted to talk about this. The viewership numbers are out for the national final or the national championship for college football, and the viewership was down. Why do you think that is?
This is interesting from the numbers that we've seen now. If you look at the college football playoff national title games, and especially since they've gone to the college football playoff, this was the third least watch out of the bunch. It was also, though, then there's this. It was also the highest rated non-NFL event since last year as well. So there's a little bit of context that goes into this. College football, before I get into any of this, college football is still in a very good place when it comes to viewership. To me, Jessica, I still think this has something to do with the steady decline in cable television, where a lot of people are cutting that cord. And I think with the viewership that comes with that, and then you put this on top of it, and this is what I'm very curious to see going forward, is if we remember, we had that Monday all to ourselves in previous years. And there was no college basketball. Obviously, you're not in competition with the NFL. That Monday was for college football. Okay, let's rewind to this last Monday. You had Martin Luther King Day. You had an inauguration. You had a lot of college basketball going on because they have made that kind of a cool Martin Luther King Day Monday where they got college hoops going on throughout the day. So that's been an MLK Day tradition, at least a new one in the past couple of years. And so you had hoops leading up to that. You just had a lot of things that you could consume that day leading up to the college football playoff. So that, to me, I do think had its impact in this one. The other part about it is, and this is where I'll ask this question, and maybe you have a strong opinion on this or not, because I do think it's hard to definitively answer this. But did we go a week or two further in the college football season that people were used to or comfortable with? Because obviously this is the first time we've gone this deep into the season that did some people maybe finally hit their wall of this? Which is hard for me to believe it, and I'm sure you as well, because we love it. We love college football, and these are two marquee brands. It's not like you had two underdogs that were not going to be good for a national championship type audience. I mean, you got Ohio State in that brand, and then you've got the Notre Dame brand.
Yeah,
Those are two great brands.
The helmets were there. The helmets were there. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I think a Monday night, not a good night. Me personally, I didn't watch the whole game because I was watching the Nebraska women's basketball game. So, when you are covering a different team, I had an interest in Husker women's basketball. That, like you said, there's basketball all day. It's this huge tradition. I don't like those big games. I mean, I know that it's been on Monday nights in the past, but I'm not liked it then. I don't like the Super Bowl being on a Sunday and then having to get back up and work the next day, So I don't know. It seemed kind of far, too, in between the matchups a little bit. It seems pretty spaced out to me. I don't know. And I know you have to take that into consideration moving forward with the student athletes. But look at the NFL. They do it a week and a week and a week. I don't know. It seemed like it was way too spread out between games. And maybe it wasn't as bad as it seems, but it seemed like we had to wait a long time to get there. And I don't know. It's weird, though, because like you said, the helmet matchup was there. It was the two teams that you would expect people would tune in to see, and a matchup that you'd want to see.
There was another part of this that Greg and I discussed just about the college football playoff viewing, and we didn't even get into the numbers about this. And I'm curious if you would want to see this too. If, like the Super Bowl, you could do this either for the national championship or even maybe the semifinal rounds, because we know ESPN, ABC, Disney, they're going to monopolize this whole thing, and they've got a new thing they're rolling out, direct to consumers market that they will, even with the decline of the cable television audience, that they're going to be able to figure that out. If you were able to, like the Super Bowl, where you rotate networks in, where you have Fox, then you have NBC, then you have ABC. If college football playoff national championship or even the semifinals were able to implement something where you did get every now and then the Fox crew, the Fox A group, the NBC, the Noah Eagle group. There's some really good ones. And this is nothing against the ESPN roster. I have the utmost respect for everything those guys do, but when I think of Joe Tessitore, I'm not necessarily associating that with the biggest game in college football or a big playoff matchup. But if I hear a guy like Joel Klatt on the call, or if I hear a Noah Eagle on the call, I'm associating that with a big game. So I do wonder if just the old ESPN product itself was a little bit watered down. It's just a thought. Again, this is the first year of this, and since it was down, we're going to overanalyze it. But again, I'm curious, would you want to see maybe a rotation with that?
Yeah, and I think the NFL did a good job with that, and that's where there's really not a lot of leadership at the top of the college football to make sure that kind of situation happens and you're spreading it out when you got so much money involved and you want to spread it around. And I like the way that the NFL does that, but there's a commissioner in the NFL that has ensured that has happened. And I don't know who is Greg Sankey going to take it away from ESPN. I doubt it, but you need somebody to step in. And that's where I think that with, Petrie being the commissioner of the Big Ten and coming from his TV background, hopefully he'll step in and push for that. And because I think everybody on the Big Ten side of it would love to see the Big Ten's partners get involved however they can with the college football playoff, especially if the Big Ten's going to continue running college football, like Coach Rule said last night. Hey, we do have to work in a break here, but Tom from Hayes said he tried to call in. Nick, is that Nick Hanley on with Jess tonight? Can we call in? I want to talk to him about some baseball. We will open up the lines for you, Tom, if you want to call back in. Yes, it is Nick Hanley, and he will be glad to talk some baseball with you if you want to call back in. So we will get those open for you. All right, got to get to a break, but keep it here on Sports Nightly and the Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field.
In the game of life, we all face tough moments. Sometimes it feels like we're up against a formidable block with no way through. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the final set. Reach out, speak up, and let's bump, set, and spike this challenge together. Because in Nebraska, we're more than players. We're a supportive community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every serve, every pass. Go Big Red. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
Active Liver is one of many award-winning health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at Amazon.com or for a volume discount, visit newnordicusa.com. Available as a tablet or delicious sugar-free gummy. Protect and help your liver the easy and effective way with Active Liver at Amazon or newnordicusa.com.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Noddle Companies proudly supports the Huskers Radio Network. As a full-service leader in commercial real estate, we create thriving communities. Discover what's new in the Builders District in North Downtown, Noddle Hospitality's latest venture in Aksarben Village, and the contemporary living of row house townhomes on Leavenworth. We're welcoming world-class concepts from men's fashion and great eats to gorgeous homes and green spaces, all professionally managed by Noddle Services. These are the Noddle Companies, building a better Nebraska. For more information, check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
Attention, Husker Nation. Are you ready to power up your game? Sap Brothers high-quality off-road red diesel is the fuel that powers your equipment. As official sponsors of the Huskers, we're here with a winning offer with the Sap Brothers Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. Contract your upcoming fuel needs by February 1st and enter to win 1,000 free gallons of our off-road red diesel to keep your engine roaring and equipment running strong. Sap Brothers fuels Husker Nation. Visit sapbros.net/fuel giveaway for more info.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Set. Hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
Welcome back into Sports Nightly. Nick Hanley, Jessica Coody here with you on this Thursday evening. Tom in Hayes, Kansas has called in. He wants to talk a little baseball with you, Nick. We were having some issues with the phone, so hopefully this works. We're going to try to get right to Tom here. Tom, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good job, Camden. Well, welcome onto the show. Thanks for calling in.
You bet. Hi, Jess. Hi, Mr. Handley. I'm going to call you Nick because I have not got to talk to you. I've talked to every single, like Jeff Colhane, Lane Grindle. I've talked to all of them, but I have never got to talk to my man, Nick Handley.
Nick, can you hear him?
I can kind of hear him through a speaker in the studio. I can kind of hear him though.
Well, we might have to work on that issue. He said he's he's talked to basically everybody but you, so he's excited to get to talk to you. I'll turn him up when he talks.
Okay, thanks, Tom. And I'm excited to have you on, buddy.
Okay, Tom.
All right. Well, I know we only got about 11 minutes to the top, so I'm going to try to get all this out, and then I'll hang up and listen to you.
Okay.
There was a rumor that I missed the show last night, which is a spin. I know I have to go pray at church for that. I'm sorry. But there was a rumor that you were on the air with Greg Sharpe last night.
I was. That is not a rumor. That is actually confirmed.
I just feel terrible. I miss you calling baseball games with Greg so bad. I love the other. What's the other guy's name?
Ben.
That's kind of a joke.
Oh.
Ben McLaughlin. I'm sorry, Ben. I had to do it to you. No, I want to really think a lot about this baseball team, and then what you kind of think about it, especially our starting rotation, maybe Mason McConaughey and Ty Horn, a Kansas boy down here from where I'm from, and then maybe Jackson Brockett on Sunday. But I'd love to hear what you have to say about the Huskers, and hopefully with you being on Sports Nightly with Jess tonight, maybe it's like a preemptive strike that I might get to hear you call a baseball game with Greg this year. But I love hearing from you. I was really happy to hear your voice, and I had to call in. So go Big Red, and I'll hang up and listen to what you guys have to say. Love you too, Jess. All right.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Tom. Nick, you've got 2 minutes to get this in before we got to hit a break.
This is a lot of information. First and foremost, I can tell you that I will be on a lot of the baseball calls this year, Tom. So rest assured that is the case. Ben and I will be doing a lot. David Gustafson will be in the mix as well, and you know we'll see as far as our good friend Greg as well. But as far as the rotation, you just bring up a great question, and this was something that Greg and I had a chance to get into a little bit yesterday, especially with the news of Mason McConaughey as a preseason All-American. Don't be shocked because he brought up Ty Horn. Ty Horn had a fantastic summer. He is on the development train that is going to put him, in my opinion, in the weekend rotation, and potentially, and we'll see, it's still very early, and there's still a lot of opportunity throughout the season for this to change. Mason McConaughey, your most seasoned veteran, a live arm, but Ty Horn is pumping that thing up too. Ty Horn, don't be shocked if he might be your Friday guy. And yes, I think you're probably close when it comes to seeing a guy like Jackson Brockett in there.
1 minute.
Seeing a guy like maybe Drew Christo that can prolong a little bit of those middle and late inning, that long relief stretch too. The great thing for Rob Childress and Will Bolt, they've got so many good options. But I think that rotation that you just mentioned, Tom, I think you hit the nail on the head. But don't be shocked if it could be Ty Horn on Friday and maybe Mason on Saturday. But either way, you're in good hands there. But appreciate you listening, and look forward to calling a lot of baseball games.
I'm impressed you got that in a minute, or a minute 30. Hey, Tom, by the way, I actually was texting with Nick about this earlier. We're going to do some position previews, some breakdowns with both Nick and Nate with softball as well. We're going to do that in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to do a deep dive into the roster here coming up over the shows here in the next few weeks before we kick off the season. So appreciate you calling in, Tom. All right, I was rushing him along, so we got to get to a break. We're back to wrap up hour number 1 next.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, The perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Husker fans, this season Nebraska is celebrating 50 years of Husker women's basketball, and we need you to help celebrate. You have shown up for women's hoops from the start and continue to prove that Nebraska fans really are the best in the nation. On Sunday, January 26th, the Huskers face Big Ten opponent Ohio State, and we are calling on all Husker fans to help pack PBA so we can celebrate 50 years of Huskers women's hoops together. Get your tickets now and be a part of this historic season. For event and ticket information, go to huskers.com/tickets.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Set. Hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. T&L Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, T&L Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and T&L Irrigation are like no other.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Chick-fil-A South Point Pavilions and Chick-fil-A 48th and O are proud to once again present Salute to Service at Nebraska basketball home games for the 2024-25 season. A recipient will be selected for each home game and will receive 2 game tickets, parking pass, VIP pregame meal, Chick-fil-A honor coin, and honored on the court during the game. Thank you for your assistance in honoring our veterans. Nominate your veteran at huskers.com/salute to service. Just got a couple minutes left here. Now we're number 1 of Sports Nightly. I can't believe it's taken us this long to talk about the guy knocking down the pop for the Porsche last night at the men's basketball game. That was incredible. I was at the dinner emceeing, and my phone was blowing up with people telling me that they knocked down the putt. And it was, my dad has watched it a few times. He thought he had it figured out, but that still is not easy to do, to knock down that putt.
No, because if the golf ball hits a floor seam, you're in trouble, because then it can take a break, just a subtle break. And that insert there is not very big. So the chances of that happening, and then you get the $500 half-court shot. The winning didn't happen in the 40 minutes, but the winning at halftime was, it was evident. It was everywhere. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that in the first or second half. But, yeah, that putt, man, that's clutch. I'm thinking of, the Tiger putt in the U.S. Open, the oh, my goodness moment from Vern Lundquist. Like, this was a better putt. Sorry, Tiger. That was a better putt.
He even had the Tiger fist bump from what I saw. I've watched that, and I just didn't know if it was makeable. So, shout out. I should have gotten his name before we got on here, but that was exciting. And as Camden said, it was pretty rocking in there because they knocked down the half-court shot, and they got where you are blindfolded and you're calling your hands and knees and find the money. Everybody won last night except for the Huskers. So, but
have you tried the putt? Have you at least tried it before a game?
No, I haven't. I need to try it. It'd be fun to try. All right, we have got to get to and we got to cut this hour short now. But we got lots to get to in hour number 2, including Jess, Petrie, Husker women's basketball. They are on a roll, 5 in a row, looking to make it 6 in a row. Much more to come. Hour number 2 up next.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect that water is the reason parts of your concrete have gotten so uneven. Walkway tripping hazards, sinking pool deck, cracked driveways are dangerous threats to everyone's safety. But there's one way to learn how your concrete can be lifted. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Good evening, I'm Camden Cohn, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. We start with some sad news today, as former Nebraska football player Calvin Jones passed away today at the age of 54. Jones was found deceased at his residence in Omaha due to what is believed to be carbon monoxide poisoning. Jones played I-back for the Huskers from 1990 to 93, rushing for over 3,000 yards in his career and earning Big 8 Player of the Year honors in 1992. He was named to the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame in 2004. Nebraska wrestler Ridge Lovett was named the Big Ten Wrestler of the Week today. The senior took home the honor thanks to a major decision over Penn State's Shane Van Ness, who entered that matchup as a second-ranked wrestler at 149 pounds. Lovett now holds that number 2 ranking as the Huskers prepare to face Michigan and Michigan State this weekend on the road. The Michigan duel is on Friday at 6, and the matchup with MSU is on Sunday at noon. Former Nebraska bowling coach Bill Straub was named to the USBC Collegiate Hall of Fame today. He was one of 5 individuals named to the class. Between his tenure as the Huskers men coach from 1984 to 2003 and the women's coach from 1985 to 2019, Straub earned 12 national titles and was National Coach of the Year 4 times. And finally, there's just one men's college basketball game in the Big Ten tonight. Number 17 Illinois is at home against the Maryland Terrapins. Tip-off is at 8 Central Time. The Terps are 4-4 in league play, while the Illini have a 5-3 Big Ten record. Our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Hour 2 of Sports Nightly is up next, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Andrew playing like a man possessed here. Going over 1,000 in his career early on in this game, and the give is to him, and the dunk, and Nebraska's tied the game at 24, and Morgan's got a dozen. A minute 53 to go. Williams on the elbow. Buchton Gerald left side. Eulis extra pass. Hoiberg puts it up. Got it! Sammy, my boy! Sammy, my boy, cuts this lead down to 2 points.
Rimdahl, a couple of ball fakes, bounces into Prince at half court. And Prince is going to make a run on a falter. Steps back for 3 to tie the game. You betcha! Biggest shot of that freshman's young career. Timeout. We're tied at 75. Britt Prince is 19. She steps back and sticks a 3-pointer. Her 5th of the night. Haight going to drive into the lane. Stops. Pops. 9-footer front rim. Gets her own rebound. Backs it out. Prince, right elbow. Short. Pull up jumper. Rolls. No. Markowski fights for it. Gets it out to Petrie. 3-ball on the left wing. You betcha! 4 chances at the basket, and Petrie knocks down a Central Valley 8.
Now that's old school Husker outwork you basketball.
Now, here is your host, Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly on this Thursday evening. Jessica Coody, Nick Hanley here with you for the next hour. We are going to hear from Jess Petrie here coming up in just a few minutes. Never could get enough of those Aussie accents. I loved all the time interviewing Jazz Shelley, and you're going to get to hear some more with Jess Petrie. I just love that Australian accent, Nick.
Jessica, let me tell you then, what you need to do when you get home is watch Bluey.
Bluey.
That's all it is. It's Australian. The little dogs are Australian. Everyone in it is Australian. So if you like it, you need to watch Bluey.
I don't know about that. I think I'll maybe just stick to interviewing Husker women's basketball Australians. I'll take it into consideration though.
Okay.
Hey.
It is one of those cartoons though that you do watch because you have to at first, and then after a while, some of the other stuff, and I will go ahead and say crap, that your kid wants to watch, you tend to kind of get into Bluey a little bit because it can cater to an older audience as well. It's very clever that way, but if you like an Australian accent, you're not going to do much better than that.
Rank your favorite kid shows.
Ooh. Okay, Bluey would be number 1.
Really?
Because I can tolerate that for at least a couple of hours. And I know that doesn't sound like I'm getting Father of the Year award if the kid's watching more than 2 hours at a time. Then there's a big drop-off. He likes Spidey and his amazing friends, so I would say that's number 2. There was this show that it was called Miss Rachel. Not very good. And yet he really, really liked it. And then at times I would appreciate it because sometimes he would be in his moods, but then Miss Rachel would really calm him down. So respect to her. And then I think Josh, myself, and you were talking about this last week, Blippi, which is very interesting. You know what? I'll tell you this one, Jessica. You and I and everyone that does what we do, we missed the boat on just finding a cameraman and acting like a goofball.
No joke.
And we would be worth about $17 million right now. But that's all it is. It's a man probably in his early 30s that just runs around and acts like an 8-year-old, actually acts like a 5-year-old, and is making cash hand over fist. So that's a little bit further down the road as far as my favorites, but it does serve its purpose for sure.
Hey, tune in to hear about sports, and you can hear a breakdown on kids shows. You never know what you're going to get here on Sports Nightly. So in hour number 1, we were talking in the first half of the hour about the college football national championship ratings, and then we got off. We were talking about baseball and putting for Porsches and all of that, but we did have a couple texts that came in that I wanted to get to. Mark said, I wish they'd figure out a way to get off the Monday night thing. College football is played on Saturday. At the very least, if they wanted to avoid the NFL, play it on Friday night. Thanks, in Mark. Or that was from Mark.
I'm a little bit more in the line of thinking than Mark is, because if it wasn't so built in now to where we're used to it, I would really be on board for it. I think the Saturday thing makes sense. I think that the biggest fear is that you've got a weekend. You're going to lose that audience, even though people are used to watching college football on Saturdays. But when you get so, in my opinion, the reason the Saturday thing maybe doesn't work as well is because you get so far removed from the college football schedule itself, the regular season schedule, where you wake up and you're seeing 11 a.m. games leading all the way up to the primetime game. You just have college football going from the time you get going to the time you go to bed. When you have to wait around all day and all early evening, for a football game, I can understand you tend to lose maybe a little bit of that audience when it's a standalone game. But I do like the consistency there. And this goes back to something you brought up in the last hour, Jessica, of the college football playoff, where you had these weird, okay, here's when the first round was. And we saw the one game, the Notre Dame-Indiana game, was on a Friday. Then the rest were on a Saturday. And then you had games that were, okay, it made sense to have games on New Year's Day, but then you would have one game that would, or one round be a week or so, and then you'd have a little bit more time in between games. And you're right, good for the guys to have that much time off because of the schedule that they put in. But that inconsistency, I also do. I agree. I think that also plays into it when it comes to that final game of, do you even know it's on? So to have that standalone opportunity this late in the season is very tough, regardless if we have an inauguration, which obviously only happens once every 4 years, or it falling on Martin Luther King Day, which I think the way the schedule's built, it typically would, but also having college basketball leading up to it, that there's more opportunity to drown it out a little bit. And so you got to find that perfect night where you can get it on a standalone. And that's the problem going this late into January, is there's not a lot of those opportunities, especially with the NFL playoffs going on.
And then Jim in Columbus, he said, I'm just wondering if people are thinking the same as me, like when it comes to the spring game, how many players are we going to watch play that maybe are not at the start of the season? Doesn't seem as thrilling. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that in terms of the college football playoff, because we didn't see a lot of opt-outs, because obviously they've got a lot to play for. And so I feel like, a lot of times those guys, if you're not playing or you're transferring, it's a lot of times not the starters that you're not seeing in these bigger games. It might be the backup quarterback or whatnot, but most of the time, I think that when you're talking about teams that are playing in the playoff the last few years, most of those teams, all those guys have been all in. So I don't know about that, if that affected it at all. But, I see your point maybe a little bit to some of the other games that there were a lot of opt-outs or guys that transferred, and it was different than what we saw in the season. But for the playoff and the national championship, it was the same cast of characters that we saw all season long, because that's what you play college football for, is to play for a national title.
Yeah, absolutely. And even when they had the 4-team playoff, you would get to those New Year's 6 bowl games. And for the most part, I think you had very few opt-outs even with those. So there were even bowl games that were outside the playoff that had enough juice that I think a lot of guys would stick around for it, because they did have a little bit more of a high profile. And make no mistake about it, in the playoff setting and in some of those high-profile type bowl games, there is a draft element to that. If we go back, and I don't like using this example because some of the things that happened to him off the field, but Deshaun Watson, if you remember his overall draft grade and how people were looking at some of the physical things he did and the intangibles, but what was the one thing that a lot of people talked about, ultimately the Houston Texans who end up drafting him, said, the guy's a winner. We saw him win on the biggest stage. We saw even in the loss to Alabama in the national championship game when he didn't beat them, that he played very well. So there was that image of him being able to take on the very best on those stages, and that carried with guys. That type of performance that you might have, whether you're an offensive lineman, a quarterback, a running back, a defensive player on that side, those types of opportunities when you're playing on that type of stage against that type of competition, make no mistake, that also does have a slight impact on your draft, your overall draft grade, especially from a positive standpoint if you show out in those games too. So, yeah, I'm with you. I don't worry about it in the college football playoff as much as I do in the bowl games. Like when if you're watching the Pinstripe Bowl, sure, there's going to be some opt-outs there. If you're watching do they even have the Cheez-It Bowl anymore? I don't know if the Cheez-It Bowl exists.
I think it might have a different name.
It probably does, yeah. Or the Duke's Mayo Bowl. There could be opt-outs in that. But, yeah, as far as the college football playoff, I think it behooves you to stick around, play in those matchups, given the cachet and the profile of those games, especially if you're someone who's opting out because you are thinking about the draft. You're thinking about going to the next level, and you're trying to protect that product. I think it actually helps you out a lot. And I think many players and probably many agents would tell you the same thing.
So kudos to a lot of those seniors for the Huskers that did not opt out, like Ty Robinson, who I hope I'm not, I don't know, breaking any rules here, but he texted me a statement in for last night for the Outland Trophy because he won the Guy Chamberlain Award. And he said he had mentioned in his statement that he's training for the Reese's Senior Bowl, which is in a couple weeks, so not this weekend, but the next weekend. And the Combine, we figured he'd get an invite, but that's good to hear that Ty's going to get an opportunity because he's going to test well. And, you know, when you talk about that recruiting and getting guys in the NFL and developing them, here's a guy that you can point to is Ty Robinson.
Yeah, I think with his measurables, but also the trajectory he's been on the last couple of years, he's only gotten better. And I think anybody who watched that defense throughout the year, and even in some of the games where maybe they had a little bit more of a rocky performance, wasn't because of number 9. Ty Robinson was an absolute dude this year. And I think ending on that note and even playing the way that he did in the level that he played against Boston College in the Pinstripe Bowl, I think that also shows more about him and not opting out, I think, also for his draft stock. And I was listening to Jason Peter, former black shirt, and highly regarded black shirt too, thinking that there's a world where Ty Robinson could maybe slide himself into the end of or late in the first round. I mean, he's got that type of talent and that type of size that is so valued at that position at the NFL. So not surprised to hear that, but that's awesome. I would assume Nash will also be one of those guys as well, because another guy that size, and then you talk about the grappling ability, what he's done at wrestling too. There's another guy that I think is at least going to find himself in Indianapolis and have a chance to hear his name, I think, called earlier rather than later.
So I wanted to give Ty's joke another opportunity to be out there. He had said, I added a little joke. Let me know if it gets any laughs. People laughed at this, so I'll just read it here on our program as well. He said, one thing I keep getting asked down here is, how am I so big and strong? My response is always the corn. So Ty throwing in a little jokey joke there.
Nice. See, he's got this sense of humor too. I mean, he's a triple threat. Come on, first rounder right there.
Oh, I mean, what else could you ask from a guy?
That's right.
All right, let's get to another break here. Coming up on the other side of this, talking a little women's hoops. They've got a big one coming up with Ohio State on Sunday. It's the PAC-PBA games. We're going to talk to Jess, Petrie, and learn a little bit more about her story. And she is playing some great basketball. She's put together 3 really, really good games and helping this Husker women's basketball team. I don't know if they've won 5 in a row without her play. So we're going to hear from her coming up on the other side of this. And also appreciate all the texts and calls that have been coming in as well on our Sports Nightly hotline, which is brought to you by Woodhouse. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. That's 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
There's something to be said for American-made, but at Monolith, we're helping create Nebraska-made. From here in Nebraska, we're producing low-emission carbon black for tires across North America. Soon we'll be providing farmers with locally made fertilizer to reduce our reliance on foreign imports. We're investing hundreds of millions in our multiple Nebraska facilities. and employing Nebraskans in high-paying jobs that support families and communities. Monolith, Nebraska made.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Welcome back inside our Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, which is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Nick Hanley, Jessica Coody here with you on this Thursday night edition of Sports Nightly. And we also are live streaming on our YouTube channel, and the guys in the chat are having some fun, Nick. They're going a little bonkers with some bowl game names after you couldn't remember whatever, the Cheez-It Bowl or whatever. I knew it switched. I just didn't know which one it went to, and so we did have some of the contributors there. It's always kind of like a small family, right? Is the group, the chat members that are in there, but it was, I believe, correctly pointed out that it turned into the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. So yes. Cheez-It Bowl to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which is now the Rate Bowl. And then it just went down a fun little rabbit hole, which is always good. The bowl game's always good. Ice bowls and, I don't know, throwing out some names on. If you could name one bowl, what would it be? We got to think about that. We should like have a winner for the best suggestion of a bowl game. Don't we have tickets we can give away for something, right? I feel like we got to work on that. We'll circle back on that. We will brainstorm on that and see what we could come up with, because I guarantee we could get some creative responses, but they'd have to be all clean versions, obviously, that we could read on the air. But that could be some entertaining radio. That sounds like a July project. I think it'd be great. But here's the whole point of this is, though, it has to have some type of meaning, because it can't just be a sponsor you made up. If you want to throw in a sponsor to sponsor that bowl game, you got to tell us why. I think the why is going to be very important to win whatever contest we decide to come up with. Okay. I'm going to write that down on my ideas paper. Brainstorming during the show. This is great. I know. I love it. And then Dennis on the text line. We're already getting – people are excited about this baseball season. We've gotten several questions already. I know there's a lot of hype with this team. It seems like we just ended the baseball season and softball, but here we are again. You had the countdown down? How many days? Gosh, what is today? I first got to figure out what today is. Well, softball is 2 weeks from tomorrow. And baseball, Camden starts, he just said it starts the 14th. Yeah, 14th. We're on Valentine's Day. So a very, very special date night. You and Ben are going to have quite the romantic evening together. What's great, though, is it's afternoon. It's a 2 o'clock game, so you can listen and take in Husker baseball with Ben and myself. See, we will get everyone ready. We will romance all of you couples out there with our call of the game of a Husker victory over UC Irvine, and then you go out and you treat that special someone the way you're supposed to treat them. There you go. I love it. All right. Well, Dennis said, Nick, on this year's baseball season, what are you looking forward to? Maybe a trip east or west? Definitely west. And I think first and foremost, speaking of the 14th, I think that trip is going to be huge. Looking at UC Irvine, then Vanderbilt, San Diego State, and then you get that just because we're in Phoenix, Arizona. You play Grand Canyon on Monday. And I think a big part of why I'm looking forward to that is part of what we were discussing earlier with what this rotation is going to look like, and being able to do some interesting things in the lineup too. But also, as far as players, this kind of goes into between the trips, but also the players part of this, I'm really excited to see some of the newcomers that they've gotten, especially a guy like Cale Frost. But there's also another guy that was playing just down the road in Omaha, and I had a chance to watch him the last couple of years too, and Hogan Haligzo, who will provide some depth at catcher as well. So you've got some new additions
that I think are going to be solid, but they're also veteran presence there too. But as far as some of the other guys that we've seen for a while, like Riley Silva, I'm excited to see that the step that he takes now as a senior, what he's going to look like and his speed and just being able to set that lineup. So there's a lot of – that's what's exciting about it. I would need maybe another 2 hours to go over this entire roster and why there is something that each one of these guys can contribute to this team. There is – I mentioned this yesterday, Jessica. There's internal optimism about what this team could ultimately accomplish. But now with that preseason ranking, too, with D1 baseball, and those guys – and I mean this with all due respect, they are the baseball nerds when it comes to college baseball, and that is a compliment because they get into it as much as anyone does. You're seeing now the external optimism for what this baseball team could be. So, but I will say that trip out to Talking Stick Park, two gorgeous parks between Talking Stick and Sloan, that will be out in Mesa, Arizona for that first weekend. And then, Lafayette, Louisiana, the Frisco Challenge, which is going to be great out in Frisco, Texas, where they play LSU as well. This is going to be a back-to-back weekend trips of just some very exciting matchups to see where Nebraska stacks up early, and then, again, to be able to figure out what this team ultimately can accomplish, because I think the sky's the limit with what they have.
All right, great stuff there. And again, we're going to do full-on previews, position previews, and breakdowns with Nick coming up here over the next couple weeks. Switching gears now, let's talk some women's hoops. Big matchup coming up on Sunday with number 12 Ohio State, who just knocked off Maryland tonight, by the way. Just went final while we were on during, I think, first segment here of this hour. But I had a chance to sit down with Jess, Petrie, who's had a heck of a 3-game stretch for this team, playing some of her best basketball. So enjoy a portion of this conversation and the Australian accent with sophomore Jessica Petrie. Well, man, you guys are on quite the stretch. Take us through, once you guys got back from California, just what's gone into these last few weeks with this team and how you're playing.
Yeah, I think we had 3 really tough losses in a row to 3 ranked teams, and I think that we kind of just took what we needed to from those losses, and we grew in ways that are obviously showing now, and I think everyone's coming in, doing the work each day. We're buying into our scouts, and I think we're peaking at the right time.
So I'd like to use this time to get to know you a little bit and your background, but from Australia, mentioned, you can hear by the accent. Tell us, how did you first get into playing basketball? What kind of drew you to the sport?
So both my parents were professional basketball players, so I didn't really have a choice. At 4 years old, I was enrolled in a little program back home called Aussie Hoops. So I think it was every Saturday morning I'd go and try and dribble the ball around. And so from then it was always kind of just something I did as a kid growing up. I was always playing basketball, and my siblings now play as well. So no one really had a choice in my family, but it's lucky we all love it. So that's how I got into it.
That's great. So you, we were talking before we started recording, school ball's not really that big. So what was the process of you playing basketball, becoming good enough, and then deciding maybe you wanted to play collegiately in the United States?
Yeah, so I kind of had a unique pathway, similar to Jazz. I left home at 16, so back home we don't have high school basketball. We play for club, and then you will trial for your state team, and then that state will then go play at a national tournament. And so I played for Queensland, and at a national tournament I had Kristen Veal, who was the head coach of the Centre of Excellence at the time, kind of reach out to me after and offer me a scholarship to finish my schooling and basketball down in Canberra. And so I left home at I think it was a couple weeks after my 16th birthday.
Wow.
And I left home and finished my high school there for the next year and a half, and continued playing basketball there with the top 12, 13 girls in Australia. And so I was just at a tournament one time, and Coach Gailey was there, and he recognized me, and well, I guess not recognized me, he messaged me a couple of days after my tournament finished, and from there yeah. That's how I got here.
Had you been interested in maybe playing in the United States before?
The age group that came before me at the Centre of Excellence was one of the first ones to majority of them went to college, because back home you obviously have the choice of going pro or kind of coming over here, and so pro was always kind of in the back of my mind. Having my mum be a pro and a lot of people I knew around me, it was always a really cool option. I never really like thought about college too much until like Coach Gailey kind of messaged me, and I was like, this is really cool. And when I came on my visit, I was like, oh, this is like really cool. So I think like the age group before me going over, like seeing them have so much success was like a big thing for me to like kind of choose which pathway I wanted to go. But after being here, I was like, it's a no-brainer. I'm coming here. So
were you at all, I mean, because you'd already left home, was it scary at all, or was it something that you questioned at all, being so far away from home?
Yeah, I'm a massive homebody, so I made it. Even just going like an hour-and-a-half plane flight away from my family was rough as it is, but put a whole ocean in between. It's definitely has its days, has its weeks where it's a bit hard, but I think just having like that time away from home already so young prepared me for this. It was definitely a much easier transition than I think some of my teammates had first time being away from home, but yeah, it definitely prepared me.
So you had mentioned, you know, the older group that really started playing overseas over here for college basketball. One of those Husker fans know well, Jazz Shelley. What did you know of Jazz, and how much did that maybe help once you started looking at colleges, knowing that there was a fellow Aussie here?
Yeah, so I think I like first kind of like watched Jazz at the Under-19s World Cup, which I competed in like just before I came here as well, which she did the same, and like a majority of that group, like Izzy Bourne was coming over here. Jazz was going to Oregon, unfortunately, but like a majority of that group was kind of just heading over to their colleges after, and they did so well. Like they came second to USA, they got a medal, and so like I kind of saw that, and then like Jazz obviously transferring here, I think, and like Izzy Bourne, Ruby Porter, there are already so many like established Aussies over here, and I think that was such a big drawing point for me, just coming over here, knowing that they have such a obviously family away from home. All three of them picked here, and so I think that was a big part of why I came here.
That's awesome. So then what was the adjustments like? Because you talked about being away from home, but once you got here, what were some of the biggest adjustments for you?
The winter is definitely one of them. I am not a winter girl at all. I hate cold. So that was one of them for sure. I think just like, it's kind of hard. People ask me a lot, like, what are the biggest differences? There isn't like too much, because obviously I speak English back home. Like a lot of stuff comes from America, like same stuff. But I don't know, I think just there's a bit of difference in like, I guess the way pathways were forged, and I think that's kind of cool, and just the food's different. But I don't know, there's not like too much that's different, I guess. It's pretty similar.
So what's the main food dish from home that you miss?
I honestly just miss like home cooked meals. I know that sounds like, ugh, like it's the same, but mum and dad just cooking a home cooked meal, like I just miss that.
What is a typical home cooked meal that you guys have?
We always have like meat and veggies at least like 4 times a week back home. That's massive in my household. We always grow up with some sort of like steak, like mashed potatoes and veggies, or some sort of, I don't know, like roast, usually once a week. So a lot of staple foods, very simple in my household, but it's the best.
So you were playing at, you know, some of the highest levels for Australia. When you got here in last year and you got a feel for it your freshman year, what were some of the things you took away from your freshman year that you've been able to carry over here into your sophomore season?
Yeah, I think, obviously I kind of grew up playing like FIBA basketball. It's very like kind of European, I guess. And so that was a bit of a change for me to kind of come over here, where it's the physicality is a lot more than back home that I would play against. And so there were little things like that that took some adjusting to, and just like Coach Williams' style of play, like some different like technique things that I wasn't used to. So I think my freshman year was just a lot about like learning, and then like having someone like Lex to, like even Arnie Stewart, who was here last season, and Kendall Coley, like just those three to just learn off of and watch them compete against every day in practice. Definitely like just the steps from last season to this season, just the growth that I've made, I think was just due to all three of those really. Just watching, learning, absorbing as much as I could last year, and just, yeah, getting the opportunity to kind of grow this year.
So then how much confidence are you playing with now, and just, you know, this stretch that you're on, you're playing some of your best basketball. What's gone into that here over these last few games?
Yeah, I think just, like, unfortunately, with Nat going down, I think, like, a big part of it is just playing for her. The role that I kind of stepped into is just kind of still trying to, like, figure it out, and I think just the past couple of games just kind of found my way of trying to impact the game, just doing what my team needs me to do on each night, and I guess like it's given me kind of the confidence. Coach Williams has confidence in me, just kind of play how I play, and so when your team has your back and your coach has your back, you're just so freeing and you can just go play basketball.
Oh, I love that. Seems like you are being more aggressive, looking to score a little bit more. Has that been something that has clicked for you here recently too?
Yeah, I think kind of the start of the season, like, this wasn't probably my biggest strength, not the first thing I was looking to do, but I think just with Nat brought so much to our team, scoring, rebounds, everything. And so I think Coach kind of talked about when she went down, it's no one's going to replace her, no one can replace Nat, but it's just finding ways of how can you input a little bit more here and there of what she did already for us. And so I think just having chats with the coach, I just need to be a little bit more aggressive and definitely get more rebounds. And so I think that's just kind of been my mindset to go into each game, just aggressive and be a good teammate.
I've talked about this a lot, and a lot of teams can say this, but this team, truly, it's been this way. Nat goes down, you guys are all saying that. We're not going to replace her with one person, but it's a little bit, everybody kind of stepping up and doing their job. Now it's been the same with Allison Widener, that I know you guys have really, you want to do it for those two players. What is it about this group that has allowed this team to, tap into that and, it's one thing to say it, but then to actually do it and to do it on the court night in and night out?
I think what's so special about this group is we're people first, players second. I think that's the culture that Coach has built here, and so I think we care about each other so much as individuals first instead of basketball players, that when you see one of your teammates go down, you just know how much work and effort and hours they've put into it, that if they can't do it, then you want to do it for them. And I think it's a big I don't know, just I don't know how to describe it, but this it's just a family here, and so when you see one of your family members go down, it's just you can't describe the feeling, but you just want to do it for them. And I think it's just part of our culture. So
you had mentioned rebounding. Man, take me back to that huge offensive rebound off the missed free throw. All your teammates were so fired up when you got that board.
Yeah,
against Iowa right before. Was it right? It was in overtime, right?
Yeah. Well, I just gave one up to Sydney Appleton before, so I was I better get the next one. But I think just response has been one of our big things, even last season, carried into this season, just what's your response? And so I think I gave up one, and I was yeah, I'm going to respond and get the next one, and just big timely board, I guess. So, yeah.
What, it was showed on TV, and we talked a lot about it, but you could tell Alexis Markowski fouls out, and she kind of pulls the group together, you guys are going to win this game. I mean, what does that kind of leadership, that belief from your leader, like Alexis Markowski, do for you guys when you know you're in that kind of situation on the road in overtime against Iowa?
Yeah, Lex had some rough calls that game, but just her, as a leader, she is awesome. She's won the first one. If she misses, she's the one. I'm I got you the next one. Or that's a great pass. She's always just, what's next? And so when she went out, she was still around the huddles, hand touches on shoulders, and when I gave up the offensive rebound, she was she grabbed both my hands and she was you're an excellent rebounder. I've seen you do it. You got the next one. I know you do. You got this for us. And just that belief that she instills in all of us is just why can't I go get the next rebound? It's so empowering, and she does an awesome job of just instilling confidence and belief in all of us. And it's what she does for our team, and she does a very good job at it.
Oh, that gives me chills.
Yeah.
To also play with someone like Britt Prince, who's so good, you could step out and shoot the three. Just with the pick and roll situation, you guys seem to have really done a good job at getting really good at that. Same thing with Lex. And what does that do as someone that plays your position to have a guard like Britt who can open that kind of stuff up for you guys?
Yeah, she makes it so easy to play with, because you either got to try and defend her, or then it opens everything up for everyone else. And so she's so tough. The past couple of games, my goodness, as a freshman to come in with that confidence and just knock every shot down is just incredible. And she's an awesome person, so I think it's even more special when she kind of comes out and has her moments. But yeah, she just opens the floor up for everybody, because if you don't defend her, then she scores, and if you do defend her, then she's got excellent vision. She has excellent passing abilities, and she gets everyone else shots.
Not just her, but Petra, Maya, how big have the freshmen been for you guys this season?
Huge. Our freshmen have been awesome. I think, we knew Maya already, but then Pete with I guess I said Petra, her nickname's Pete. With the late addition, I think it's cool, having another international, obviously. I know her style of play pretty well, and just, we have a good connection, and just Maya's been huge, had some massive, rebounds in certain games, almost pretty much double-double against Iowa, and just she's been huge. I think both our freshmen have just come in ready to learn, like ready to grab opportunities with 2 hands, and they're even better people, which makes it more special when they have their moments.
You know, you look at you and Logan Nisley, sophomores, those 3 freshmen. There are moments when there's a lot of young players on the court that you guys have, like you said, responded. What has made you guys, even at such a young age, ready for some of these big moments that you've been thrown into here over this last month or so?
Yeah, I think like we do the work every day, so you're confident when you have hours behind you, but it's just, I think it is just coming from our coaching staff. Like they have the belief in us to step up in big moments, and I think it's easy to step up when you have that kind of belief behind you.
Really enjoyed my conversation with Jessica Petrie, the sophomore for Husker women's basketball, playing some really good basketball. You can listen to that full conversation. It's out now on our podcast platforms, our YouTube channel as well, as part of our Husker Women's Wednesday series powered by Emeritus. Emeritus is proud to power Husker Women's Wednesdays and all of Husker women's sports. And big win coming up on Sunday. Pack PBA as they take on Ohio State. 2 o'clock tip will be on the air at the pregame show starting at 1:30, but be inside PBA. Those tickets are going fast as they're pushing for another sellout. They're going to have a huge crowd, so they've got some promotions going on, huskers.com/tickets. Got to get to another break, but on the other side of this, Nick Reed joins me. Keep it here on Sports Nightly.
In the game of life, we all face tough moments. Sometimes it feels like we're up against a formidable defense with no way through. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the final whistle. Reach out, speak up, and let's tackle this together. Because in Nebraska, we're more than a team. We're family. Remember, in times of need, call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
No matter what color you wear on game day or what color tractor you drive, there's one color Nebraskans trust to be a partner for life lived well. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska combines national power with Nebraska roots. Awarded the best health insurance experience in the heartland, Blue Cross delivers affordable, high-quality health plans for Medicare groups and individuals. Head to nebraskablue.com to find the coverage that's right for you. Team Blue says, go Big Red.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Attention, Husker Nation. Are you ready to power up your game? Sap Brothers high-quality off-road red diesel is the fuel that powers your equipment. As official sponsors of the Huskers, we're here with a winning offer with the Sap Brothers Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. Contract your upcoming fuel needs by February 1st and enter to win 1,000 free gallons of our off-road red diesel to keep your engine roaring and equipment running strong. Sap Brothers fuels Husker Nation. Visit sapbros.net/fuel giveaway for more info.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse, and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Just got a couple short segments left with you here on this Thursday night edition of Sports Nightly. Jessica Coody joined by Nick Hanley. Nick, I got a question for you. Are you a pickleball guy?
Ooh, I'm not against it. It's not like I'm fundamentally against it or anything. I just haven't played enough of it that I think I would actually enjoy doing. So
you've never played it?
I have, but very few times. And like you know, you're a former athlete. There's always that competitiveness there. And so I think maybe I took it a little too serious. I wasn't asked to play again with some of my friends. I don't know how my wife feels about it. Now, she played tennis, so she's I know she's more into it. We've always talked about wanting to play more. There's a little pickleball court just down from where we live, and we always drive by. We're like, oh, you know what? Maybe tomorrow will be a good day to play pickleball. And then I don't know, it's like it's too windy or something. You know, we always make excuses. But when we actually are able to pin down a time to do it, I do enjoy it. I just don't do it that much.
So I got a group of friends that's wanting to start playing. I never played tennis. I'm not good at ping pong, so I'm a little bit concerned I'm not going to be competitive like you, and it's going to really tick me off. But I'm just putting this out there. I'll take all the coaching pointers, tidbits. If people want to text in, shoot me any advice as I take this up. You know, the coaching staff, the football coaching staff, right when they first got here, they were super into it. In fact, there's still the pickleball court lines on the concourse out here. And so maybe I could get some reps in during some commercial breaks or something. I don't know.
I feel like this could be a fun little, this could be a segment. This could be a cool feature. Matt Rule teaching Jessica Coody how to play pickleball.
I know. We can even like maybe set up a camera out there and live stream it.
Yeah. Well, do it like a Husker Sports Network tournaments. We could get a sweet tournament going too.
Oh, yeah. This could be a journey. So it just got presented last night, and so I'm trying to think about it.
So you said you're not good at ping pong, and you've never played tennis. Maybe this is for you. Maybe just because you weren't good at ping pong, maybe you just needed the bigger paddle and the wiffle ball and more space to maneuver. Because ping pong, I'm not good at either, because every time I try to go for the slam or the kill, I overshoot the tiny little court. That's what's great about pickleball, is you got a little bit more room to operate.
We'll see. This is the start of something. We'll keep you posted on that. Shane in the chat said, if too windy, you'd never do anything in Nebraska. Yeah, the wind doesn't seem to stop you from golfing, Nick.
That's true. That's fair. That is fair.
So not a valid excuse.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
All right, we got to get to our final break. We're back to wrap up the show next.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Your Husker football team is fresh off a Pinstripe Bowl victory and are gearing up for an exciting 2025 season. Secure your seat in the Sea of Red for all 7 home games this fall by becoming a 2025 Husker football season ticket holder today. 2025 football season tickets are on sale now in select end-zone locations and start at just $420. To purchase, visit huskers.com/tickets. Go Big Red.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Welcome back. Final segment here of this Thursday night edition of Sports Nightly. Jessica Coody here with Nick Hanley. What a fast, fun 2 hours, and I don't know how we could have talked about anything else. We've got men's hoops. We talked about the Outland Trophy. We talked about kids' TV games, pickleball, bowl games, women's basketball, college football. What else could we? Baseball. What else could we have gotten in?
Imagine what we could do with another 2 hours. And randomly on my TV right now, somehow Karate Kid 3's on. So we can add that to the list, too. I don't know even how that came on. But now I'm just looking over there, and I'm seeing Mr. Miyagi and Daniel LaRusso, and I'm wondering what the heck's going on.
The old Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Because, there's a remake spinoff series on Netflix.
Oh, I know. I am an avid follower of Cobra Kai. Love it. I was born in 79, but I'm pretty much an 80s kid, so everything that had to do with the old school Karate Kid, I'm all about it.
So do you like the new series then, the spinoff?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
okay, because I started watching it too. I have not watched the last 2 seasons, I don't think, but I got into the first couple.
Okay, then you're good. Then if you like those ones, it only gets better, which is amazing.
That's good.
There's going to be there's the grand finale fights at the end of each season, which they get a little bit more ridiculous each time, but they're great.
So if you're looking for anything for Nick for birthday or Christmas, get him some Cobra Kai gear.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would, and I'll be Team Cobra Kai. I'll be Team Johnny. I have no problem with that. He was misunderstood.
Well, great stuff. Thanks for being here with us again tonight. I know you'll be joining us a couple shows next week as well. And again, we'll be working on those baseball previews. We got a full 2 hours coming up tomorrow night. We're going to preview the weekend with hoops with Matt Coatney, Kent Pavelka. I believe Ben McLaughlin's scheduled to stop in as well and talk a little gymnastics with the hometown Husker, Hallie Works. So fun 2 hours coming up tomorrow night. Greg will rejoin me coming up. So Nick, thanks for being here again. What a fun 2 hours.
You bet. Had a blast. Have a great weekend.
All right. Talk to you tomorrow night here on Sports Nightly. Have a great one.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because